lockout to both the NFL and the NBA. So it's about to get UGLY. That's ugly for those of you who don't know how to spell. On 89.7 KLES FM. Here we go. This week, the ugly centers around the lockouts in both pro basketball and pro football. And we're going to talk about the NBA, the majority of it, because the NBA situation is extremely ugly. This past season in the NBA was probably the best season that it's had in a bunch of years. And the irony of this all is that for the owners to lock the players out after having a year where the fans started to come back is silly. And the reason why this has all happened, this all, in my opinion, started about 17 years ago. Now, I know they went on strike in 1998-99 season, but this happened even before then. And I'm going to try to explain this, and I want you to hear me and be patient. The NBA decided that allowing high school basketball players to play in this league was their new gimmick, and that would help this league in 100,000 trillion ways. And all it has done to this league is destroy the league. Because the reality is, there's only been one, folks, only one high school player who has done what the NBA thought the high school player would do. Now, I know you all first thinking that's Kobe Bryant. Well, you would be wrong. Because Kobe Bryant, when he came into this league, Kobe Bryant had Shaquille O'Neal as his anchor, and Shaquille O'Neal was the best player in the league at that time. Some of you might think it's Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk never played high school basketball in this country, and Dirk is probably a prime example of what the NBA wanted. But I'm sure you all by now have guessed it, that the answer is LeBron James. LeBron James is the only person in all of the history of the high school kids coming to the league who essentially has done what the NBA wanted him to do, which was come in, take a team, build a team around him, and make them championship worthy. Now, yes, Kevin Garnett came in with Minnesota and did the same thing, but Garnett never made it to the championship game. In fact, Garnett's teams always got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, except for his last year at Minnesota, I believe, and then he ended up becoming a Celtic, and now he has a ring on another team. And because of this, and because of bringing in high school players, what has happened is that teams mortgaged everything. Teams mortgaged their future. Teams mortgaged their sales based upon these high school players that they brought in. Darius Miles was supposed to be a revolutionary type player. Corleone Young, Leon Smith, Jonathan Bender. All these kids who went straight from, Sebastian Telfair. I mean, all these players who went straight from high school to the pros who were supposed to be superstar, super outstanding players and create this buzz for the NBA that would keep us thinking about the way it was played in the 80s and in the 90s. And instead what happened was that these players ended up getting traded to a whole bunch of different teams. I mean, Al Harrington's been on several teams in recent years. It's to the point where all these teams who mortgaged all this money on all these kids got burned. And I find it ironic, actually extremely ironic, that if you look at the teams that have won the championships in these last 17 years, none of these teams, with the exception of the Lakers, and of course we give Shaq all the credit, but Kobe didn't start taking over for the Lakers until his later years. If you look at it, the impact of the high school players did not happen until 5 to 6 to 7 years later, with the exception of one LeBron James. And so when the players tell the fans around the country that the owners are the reason why they're on strike, they got a point. Because the owners allowed this to happen. The owners decided that a kid going to college, learning how to play basketball, and getting a college degree is useless. I mean, even now, as I said last week in the draft, Kyrie Irving only played 11 games at Duke, and he was the number one pick in the draft. That doesn't make any sense. And yes, over the past few years, Derrick Rose, he played a whole season. He was fantastic in college. John Wall was terrific at Kentucky, 1 year. And yes, they've come into the league and been special. I mean, Blake Griffin played a couple of years at Oklahoma, and obviously you saw what he did last year. But the reality is that fans want a proper product. And if you don't have a proper product, we're not going to watch you play. And as I've been saying for the entire 10 months I've been doing this sports radio stuff here on 89.7 KLAS FM and on KCLA when I was doing it there as well, that is the message that seems to keep getting forgotten. And that is that the NBA system created this mess. The NBA created this mess. They have a crazy, crazy salary cap and a crazy salary structure. And we're going to talk more about that aspect of this lockout on 89.7 KLAS FM after this.
So I'm sitting and clicking, bang, gorgeous, hot, sexy models like you've never seen.
Yeah?
I'm telling you, what a website. I started ordering right online, and then my engine was roaring and my rocket was ready.
Hey, hope the wife don't find out.
Are you kidding? She told me about it. Anyway, finally I get my hands on what I've wanted my whole life.
You mean...
Yeah, supermodels.
You're kidding.
No, model trains, model planes, model rockets, ehobbies.com. Rocks.
A new world for hobbyists and free shipping with a $25 minimum purchase. That's ehobbies.com.
Sounds like you need some help. If there's one center, you can use your name. Top-notch body and color care, paint matching, free towing, and free listening. Our goal is to get your car to sound like this. To see you on the road. 601 West Depot Boulevard, Los Angeles. Monday through Fridays 8 to 6 and Saturdays 8 to 2. Call us at 323-530-2525. Ask for our Collision Center. We'll see you on the road.
89.7 KLAS FM. My name is Richard Harris. Hope that you are enjoying your Friday as we continue on about this topic. The ugly of sports and the ugly of the NBA. And here we go. I want you to think about a salary structure. A salary structure should be simple. A salary structure should be simple to the point where if you do X, you get paid X. If you do better than X, we'll give you a bonus, and you go on from there. The NBA salary structure is ridiculous. They have rookie scale for 3 years, and then they have another scale where you could sign with your team and get paid max dollars, or go to another team and get paid less money than you would have gotten if you stayed with your team, like LeBron James and Chris Bosh just did. Okay, and then they have a scale where if you've been on the team for 5 to 10 years, you can reject clauses. You can have a no-trade clause. There's a mid-level exception. There's a 10-year rule where if you've been on a team for 10 years, they can't do this to you. What happens is you sign a contract, they give you incentives. If you meet them, they pay you. If you don't meet them, you lose that money. And the NBA is wondering why their system is so screwed up. They don't share revenue with any other team in the league. The NFL shares revenue, and I'm going to talk a little about that in a second too, and that's why their strike doesn't make any sense. It's like they're not getting any poorer. Every team makes the same money in the NFL. It's just that the Cowboys make money on their merchandise that they get to keep, and the Giants do, and the Buccaneers do. The NBA structure is so crazy that it doesn't make sense. Now, yes, what they were trying to do was trying to make sure that rookies weren't getting paid crazy money more than the veterans and stuff like that, which makes sense. And they were trying to slot people in terms of, okay, you played in the league this amount of years, you're due this amount of money, and you're due this amount of money if you play this many years. But all that is done is make this portion of this strike and this whole situation extremely convoluted. Because nobody can understand why they would do something like this. Why do they expect the players to take less money? Why do they expect the players who they have made agreements with a few years ago that the salary would go up $2 more million a year, the average salary to $7 million? Why do they think the players are going to want to take less money? It's not the case. And the fact that they don't share revenue hurts them because teams like the Knicks, the Lakers, even the Clippers didn't lose any money. Even though they spent a ton of it, they didn't lose any of it. The NBA needs to understand something that football understood. And that is you have to have every team on equal footing in order to compete. Or every player is going to go to the teams that have the money. The Knicks don't mind paying luxury tax. They make the money back in revenue sales, in merchandise sales. The Lakers don't mind paying a revenue tax or a luxury tax because they make that money back through concessions and other things because they're always full. And the league is upset because they're saying, well, hey, 22 teams supposedly have lost money this past season, over $300 million. Only 8 teams made money supposedly this year. And the players are like, well, whose fault is that? It's your fault. You've allowed this system to exist. You've allowed a system to exist where the fans aren't coming to the games of teams that have no one worth watching. I mean, remember when Sacramento was good? Sacramento had Chris Webber and Mike Bibby and Peja, and everyone would go to see Sacramento play. Sacramento used to sell out all the time. Now Sacramento's toying with the idea of moving down here to L.A. because the fans aren't coming out anymore. I mean, we just had, like I said, the best season this league has had in years. Interest in the NBA is sky high. And you lock them out because of your mistakes you made 17 years ago. And you don't have Michael Jordan to save you. You don't have Larry Bird to save you. Magic Johnson to save you anymore. You have LeBron James, who the world hates. Supposedly, LeBron James is public enemy number 1. But LeBron James is the only high school player to do what the owners wanted to do. And that was get a player out of high school who they can build around, who can carry a team, got his team to a finals a few years ago. But then LeBron James circumvented the system, became a free agent, and now he's just, he's just an all-star player playing on another team. And it's not what the NBA wanted to see happen, but it happened. Amari Stoudemire, same thing. Phoenix was great with Amari. But then Amari got hurt. All of a sudden, Phoenix tried to do something different with the way they played basketball. And now Amari's a Knick. Not what the NBA wanted. The NBA wanted these high school kids to be the backbone of these leagues. And it's not happening. It's happening too late. And now the teams that don't have the great high school players don't have any fans. It's going to be a long summer and a long fall because there's not going to be any basketball until next spring. And we're going to talk about the NBA and the NFL strikes on 89.7 KLAS FM more after this.
Hey, travelers. Looking for a place to stay this summer that is right in the middle of everything? The Hollywood and Highland Hotel and Hostel is located right on majestic Hollywood Boulevard. We are 1 block away from the Kodak Theater. We have 4 and 6 bedrooms at affordable rates. We offer free breakfast, have Wi-Fi, and each room has a hot shower and bathroom. We offer tours of Hollywood and can direct you to any location in Los Angeles County. Plus, we are located on